but I had to humble myself enough to say, you know what? I am doing so many amazing things in other areas of my life. I'm okay if scrubbing the bathroom is not my thing right now, and we need to call somebody in to do the floorboards in the kitchen because I'm not getting down there.
That's
just
right.
not. I don't have time.
I'm Kelli.
And I'm Danni.
Welcome back to the ProCreatives Podcast for moms who make things.
The podcast for moms and future moms who are navigating their creative careers as they raise their little inspiration. Oh, we are super excited today about our guest because with our podcast, one of our goals is to help our moms stay motivated in their life and in their work.
Yes, and today's guest is all about helping women, specifically moms, thrive. Christina Garrett is amazing. She is a powerhouse speaker and facilitator. She's a productivity and wellness coach for busy women leaders who crave a healthier work life and rest balance. The and rest part is important.
Yeah.
Her journey as a community leader, pastor's wife, and homeschooling mom of 5, yes, 5, allows her to facilitate necessary conversations around maternal health, overcoming Superwoman Syndrome, and how to implement practical time management and strategic planning that leads to growth without overwhelm or burnout. And she's the founder of the Momathon Movement, and she speaks and coordinates community initiatives internationally about the power of intentional goal reaching and creating a life that supports the mission of the entire family. And when she's not coaching clients and planning the annual Momathon conference, she's training for a half marathon and telling her kids to quiet down. You can see her in Essence Magazine, Forbes, Fox News, Red Table Talk, and more. And she's always about sharing the beauty of an unrushed and balanced life. Christina!
Love it. Welcome.
Thank you, ladies. What an honor to be here.
We're so excited to have you. You are just a shining bright light in the world of chaos that is sometimes motherhood.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Now, we want to dive right into motherhood. We always want to start off our conversation with mom, because that's a part of who we are. It's not the summation, but it's a huge part of who we are. So we want to ask you, what was your journey to motherhood like? Now you got 5 kids. You win. Okay.
You beat her by 1. Don't let her get you started. You beat her by 1.
Right. You're not far behind.
I couldn't go the distance with you, sis. I couldn't go the distance. Okay, so you win.
It's okay. Listen, I'll take that one. I'll take that W, and it will just keep it moving.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you all so much for having me. I can honestly say that my journey to motherhood has been a roller coaster ride, like many of you. I can recall expecting the first, but I think the real roller coaster ride happened moving from 1 into my second pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember being excited about being pregnant again. When you have 1 kid, you can be kind of cool. Like you can move around a little bit. It's like, just a stroller for 1 child. You still have a regular car. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to the doctor with my husband and our son, who was 18 months at the time. And I remember them putting the goo on my stomach and going to peek at the baby. And I asked, because, I'm young and relatively foolish. I said, can you see the baby's eyes this early? Like there were 2 bubbles on the ultrasound screen. And I said, can you see the baby's eyes that early? And the lady said, no, dear. Those are twins.
Oh,
So we went from somewhat cool, the promised child from the favorite son. We went, from 1 kid to 25-year-old parents, 3 children, 2 and under. Wow. And that was, I think, the biggest catalyst, the biggest learning lesson, because becoming a mom already, you go through these identity crises. You're really learning who you are again as a mom, as a wife or partner, as a caregiver. And to go from 1 and somewhat handling it to having 3, it made me spiral, no one was talking about postpartum depression back then. My twins are about to be 14. It's 14 years ago. No one was talking about, if you feel like it's raining all the time, this is what you should do. You should go see a therapist. You need to talk to your doctor. There was no conversation about that back then. And so I kind of had to travail through those dark days, with my husband coming in the house, like, why are you sitting in the hallway crying? The babies are in their rooms crying and no one's answering the phone. And I'm worried, like, you're not okay. And he would have to come home with like a McFlurry and send me outside to sit in the car for an hour on his lunch break. Like, it was really survival of the fittest. And so we had to, redefine who we were as husband and wife, as parents, and then try to figure it out, Once we figured it out, we had baby 4. Once we figured it out, we had baby 4. And then a couple years later, we had a slight oops. And here comes baby number 5, Levi. And so after that, we shut the party down.
Yeah. We the party. I love it.
Shut down the party.
Oh, my goodness.
She's like the surprise of a twofer. Like, hold up now. What now?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Eyes? And she was like, no, dear.
But it's okay. Still a valid. You know what? I think there are no foolish questions. Okay. You wanted to know because you saw 2 things and you're like, oh, that's, 2. And well, you got your answer right there. Then
it wasn't my answer.
It was two babies.
Yes. And I have to go get a minivan.
Oh my gosh.
And I've been in one ever since.
It's okay. They're getting fancy. They're in style. Okay.
They know what they used to be for sure.
Yes. They definitely have a lot of perks. I'm listening. Listen, they got TVs in the back. My kids they're like, why don't you get one so that we can get, get an upgrade.
Yeah.
It's an
upgrade. I want a TV like that. Yeah. Right? It's like a moving living room.
Yeah.
They are really fantastic, but I digress. At 25, this was not the vibe I was going for. Okay.
I understand.
Let's just establish that this is not who I am as a person. I refuse it. And look at me now.
Look at you now. But you talked about, feeling those blues and feel like it's raining all the time. What got you through that? Because I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't know what was happening to me when I felt it. And it was only until months later, I read an article, Chrissy Teigen was talking about it. And I said, that's what I was feeling. But I was just like, I was just going through it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to find things to bring me joy. I just kept trying to I was fighting it. Right. But how did you overcome it? How did you get through it?
A lot of prayer. I can remember knowing that something wasn't right, but you don't really know how to verbalize it. Right. I can remember looking for places in my life where I could, like you said, find joy, where I could get moving. I remember Tae-boing for an hour every day and then putting all 3 babies in the stroller and going for a walk for another hour because being outside was the only thing that I could do. By the time we come home, you're going to go to sleep. And if I could just get you guys asleep all together for 30 minutes, my day has been successful. It was just those small ways. And then throughout that process, I started running, right? Which, I just needed a goal that was mine. Yeah, we all need a goal in life that is only ours. And so often all of our goals are family goals, right? Like everything is driven, by the success of the family. And you forget about finding things that just you love. And so for me, running was that thing, and while I was out running, I said, I'm going to sign up for 5K. And then it turned into a couple of those and then 10K. I joke now, I gained weight. I told my husband, I was like, I'm too fulfilled now. I need to be less fulfilled. So I can drop this 30 pounds. So anyway,
I love that term, fulfilled. That's all right.
I feel too happy, So anyway, I think it's finding a goal that was mine. And then my husband was, he knew because of his relationship with his parents, he knew that when his mom was going through things like that, his dad did not see and did not understand. So he always tried to go above and beyond to say, are you okay? Some things are off. We didn't know you were supposed to go to the doctor and talk to your doctor or a therapist. Right. That's unheard of. Now it's a buzzword. It's a fad that we're all, if you don't have a therapist, it's something wrong, but 13 years ago, 14 years ago, it was like, if you go and you need, it wasn't talked about, so he was really
definitely a stigma. attached
it was a stigma. It was a stigma attached. So, he was my best friend though in that process. He's like, I brought you ice cream. Go sit in the car for 30 minutes or make sure you go run because you're acting like, you're wilding out a little bit. That attitude is attituding, and you need to go run. That was code word for sis, you tripping. You need to go take some quiet time.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you have, because support comes in different ways. Not everyone is has a spouse that they can lean on, but I think one of the things that you said that is critical is having the space for yourself. Finding that place, finding fulfillment outside of being a mom, because that's always going to be there. But where's the time that you're taking for yourself, to be with yourself? Like, sometimes we can lose ourselves in motherhood. And it's like, well, what do you actually enjoy? Because I know it's not watching Teletubbies.
Well, now Gracie's Corner is lit. Gracie's Corner is lit, but that's not grown folks music.
Yeah. Gracie's Corner is lit. But, it is like taking that time for yourself, really giving yourself the moment. And I'm glad that your spouse was able to say, hey, I'm tapping in here. I'm tapping in. Go ahead and
kudos to him. Kudos to him for noticing and taking action.
Kudos to hubby.
Yes.
I think after you get over the hump, there's some sense of ego or pride, that makes you say, oh, I did it like this and this and this. But there's so many factors that come into us succeeding over life transitions and moments like that. Like learning to communicate better. If your husband doesn't get it, how do we help him to see? Are you only trying to communicate this to him after you're popped off like a volcano?
Right. And then they don't hear.
They're not hearing. You're tripping. No. He's tripping. He's responding defensively because you told him he doesn't do anything. And that's not true, right? So then we have facts, So most of the time we have spouses, our husbands, they actually love the family. They love, he loves you. He just might not get it. He can't see inside your brain or inside your heart. He's boiling up inside. Does not have Superman X-ray vision. Okay,
he don't, and you're absolutely right. Listen, I think we all had to learn that in some point in our relationship. Like, okay, because I think the TV. I'm sorry to bash the TV, but it's the truth. You think they're supposed to know everything, okay? They're supposed to know what you're feeling, and you're like, isn't it obvious? I don't look the same. I don't act the same. But also, I think sometimes seeing that something's different, but also knowing what to do it's two separate things, because they may see it and they respond to it, and then they may not be what you want or what you need, right? But they also need you to say, this is what I need in this space, because they don't know, and it's not always cookie cutter. So
very much. And to echo that, Danni, like, he can come and tell you, baby, you're not looking how you used to look. He can say with a positive observation, right? The house is looking a little bit like your dismantled mind, right? And what your response be as a wife,
you can
as
pick
a mom?
Up. Let me stop.
Knock if you buck.
Cue the music, baby. Cue the music. We gonna turn up. I can remember I started making a little money in my business. I was like, we need a cleaning service, okay? Because I just cannot. Boom, boom. And then maybe a month or two later, my husband came and said, we need a cleaning service. And I was like, what do you mean? Are you saying I'm not on top of it? Are you saying that I'm not successfully working full time from home and homeschooling 5 children? And of course not. And to have enough energy left over to fool around with you? No.
Right.
Nobody has enough energy for all this stuff.
No, I'm tired of hearing that list.
I don't want to do it, right? I want to do all this stuff. So
that's right. We're both in that place of like, how can someone just told me about TaskRabbit yesterday, and I was like, you know what? Yes, because there's some tasks that just need to be delegated out. Okay, and I'm making my list right now of what are some things that I could be better spending my time on. That somebody else could do.
Yeah, because unfolding towels is not in your eulogy.
No, it's not.
It's just not.
It's not.
No one cares who does it.
No,
Your husband doesn't care.
I don't
either. It's like the lawn.
Yeah. Yes.
Really?
Hire somebody. You know what I mean?
Somebody.
Get somebody.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. Who taught us that? Who told us that it's okay to hire a lawn guy and it's not okay to hire somebody to help
clean that house?
Yeah, I think that's that being every woman thing. But thank God we delivered, because I'm like, that's not. I'm not trying to be everything, because being everything is exhausting. And
it is exhausting. It is
There's nothing left for me. But anyway, okay. Yeah. I know we going on.
We like tangent. So now my question to you is: you've had these kids, twins, surprise. Children,
surprise.
After that, were you solid in your purpose and career at this time, or were you just leaning into motherhood? And then leaning into motherhood is what provoked you to start pursuing what you're doing now.
Yeah,
it was definitely the latter. I was just trying to stay sane, whatever that means. I had 3 kids at the time when Momathon first started, whatever it was. And I can remember going out running and God giving me the idea while I was out running by myself, of course, because that's when ideas come, is when you're alone.
Yes. in the silence.
In the silence. And I can remember saying, God, I can barely get myself to do the right thing. How am I supposed to help inspire anybody else to do it? But I came home, I said, baby, I'm going to start something called Momathon. And I was like marathon, but like for moms. And he was like, okay. And I started blogging. I think it started as a blog at first. And then when Facebook kind of crept up and was doing a thing, I turned it into a Facebook page. And I was just talking about how it's okay for you to love being a mom, but not like it every day. That day your kid poops in the tub, the day they break the glass olive oil jar in the pantry and you just close the door and leave and cry. Maybe that's just me. I just, had these days where it's like, twins, y'all are really twinning right now. Like y'all in the kitchen as toddlers dismantling the CIA website, And so I just remember from that place, like looking to embrace the journey, looking to identify who I was again, and just looking to tell the story, because there was a lot of shame attached back then. Even now we're dismantling the shame of asking for help, accepting help, delegating to this day, no matter how long we've been a mom. And so back then, of course, even more, people are like, what do you mean you need a break from your kids? What do you mean you leave them home and go do other things? Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm going to say that I have 3 children, 3 and under, or 3 children, 4 and under. I have to go. I have to leave. I got to take time. And so, from that place, I just started blogging about it and doing little videos about it. And maybe I made it up to a couple hundred followers. And then I went viral on accident.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, tell us more.
I know. I want to know on accident.
Literal on accident. So my husband and I were spending some time together with the family in October 2016. And that morning, I distinctly remember God telling me to hang up the phone with my bestie and go spend some time in prayer. And I remember distinctly praying for my husband and praying for his safety. I always added praying for his safety that day. So cue the evening. We go out to dinner with family for a special celebration. He decides to walk across the street to go and see a friend. A young lady who is leaving work in a rush zooms out from the corner and hits my husband with her car as he's walking across the street.
Oh my God.
I know. So we come outside and I'm looking at my husband laying in the street. And they're like, okay, he's alive. He's talking. We just don't want him. All of a sudden, everybody that was in the parking lot of the restaurant was a first responder. I'm talking about CNA, fire, people getting off the shift from the hospital down the street, nurses, fire, fire. All of a sudden, there were people around him cradling his body. Like, no, we don't want you. We're going to keep your neck like this until the paramedics come. And it just people circled around him like a cloud. And I remember like looking at him laying there and I was like, God made me pray for him this morning. Like he made me stop what I was doing. And so I did a video, of course, of all the videos that you do over the course of time. This was the one that took wings and flew away. And we woke up maybe a day or two later and millions of views, Fox News all over the country talking about the power of a praying wife and all these things. Yes. So suddenly I had hundreds of women in my messenger saying, Christina, hi, this is what's going on in my family. Help me. Right. And this is as we shift to being creative, it is the idea of you don't know when your moment is going to come. You have no idea what God will do in your life that will cause the that lightning has struck. You just don't know what it is. So here I have hundreds of women coming to me asking me for help. Ask me if I had anything to offer them.
But yourself.
Class, a $5 each. I had hopes and prayers.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. I was like, I'm praying for you. Stay connected. That's all I had. I didn't have anything that offered to help them meet that need. I didn't know that that time was coming for me. So it literally took wings and flew away. Since that time, we've been doing conferences and events because I've grown as a woman, as a mom, as a leader. The mission has grown. The movement has changed so much more from just helping you to run your race to how do you take your current life, your current existence, and turn everything up a notch and make it a really big deal. How do you get more eyes on your work and love your season and go through the cycles of change in your life? How do you communicate better and delegate so you can take your light into the big stage? How do we do that? How do I organize my life here so that I can take this up a notch? That's a whole different conversation that I think that, in a lot of spaces, they're just talking about the big stage. They don't talk about preparing your family and your life for as you move, the changes you'll go through. And so I had to go through those changes and maneuver through that. So Momathon has changed so drastically since it started because I literally had to become a new person.
Wow. I'm glad you took notes for us because but honestly, like you're absolutely correct. People don't talk about the transition. I like when you said appreciating the current season that you're in. A lot of times we have a hard time, in that season that it appears that we're underground, right? Like we haven't blossomed yet. We don't have the seedling. There's evidence. Let's say we have the seedling, but the sprout isn't out there. And we're just there, like having a hard time. Like we want to be recognized so badly. But I think we need to spend more time telling people, the end is possible, but there's also steps before you get there. And I love that you're helping people transition because a lot of times when this success comes, we've seen it all numerous times. When success comes, people don't seem to know how to handle it, or they may, you just kind of like it does something to it, and especially with social media. Like as you said, you just never know when you're gonna blow up, you're gonna go viral. Yeah. Now, what you gonna do with that? That's the real question, and I think we do need more people, there to support you through that change.
I love that you make it a family mission, especially because. I think women and families, and I'll just say families in the sense of that's the phase of the life that they're in, right? Right. It can sometimes feel like you're going and you're the only one going. And how do I, and I can say this for myself, right? When I pivoted from working in the social work field to doing more creative things, it was very hard for me to shift. Like I know I wanted my family involved, and how do I make that happen? And it turned into, well, I'm just going to bring these kids everywhere, But I do think it is helpful to have that conversation. Like, hey, things are changing with me. I'm changing, but also what I'm doing is my work is changing and shifting. And I think we don't allow ourselves as humans sometimes the grace to make those changes and flow and the moment to step back and say, you know what, I am different. Yes, I am. Sometimes we don't even have the headspace to really acknowledge that moment.
So I will echo that with the Instagrammatization of society now, we're starting to see so many surges of the impact that success plays on the role of the family. Okay. So all of a sudden, you begin to embrace these mantras, okay? One of them, like, if it costs me, my piece is too expensive, okay? Where are the kids gonna live? If my piece is too expensive and I'm cutting everybody out that takes it away, where are the children going to live now? Okay. That's just one of them. You know, self-care is selfish. And just all these little mantras and ideas that we adopt and we try to make it ours, only to realize that the majority of these folks that come up with these things, they're just shooting something out on the internet. We're grabbing it and making it Bible, you know, and making it feel as though it has to be done this particular way. So we'll see, you know, okay, this is touchy. We'll start to see more and more women, okay, becoming learned, okay, whether that's certified, degrees, all the things, and they will begin to look at their husbands as though are beneath them now that they have stepped up to the next level, okay? So the husband who's been a sufficient companion, friend, and lover for the last however many years, because you're not catching on fast enough, because you're not motivated like I am, because you're not enlightened like I am, all of a sudden, this relationship is not sufficient anymore. And then we start to see a pattern. You can look on the internet and tell it. We start to see the evidence of us feeling like I've graduated to the next level. Now this, what used to serve me well, no longer does. It no longer does.
That's lack of self-awareness there, right? Because if the person that was fulfilling you before your new knowledge, right? And not to say that we can't grow, right? But it's like, where were they fulfilling you, right? What I always talk about that. Like, what was that in any relationship, whether it's friendship or, you know, intimate relationship? How does that person work for you, right? And I think understanding that and, you know, really the core values of things and what really is making you happy, those things, I don't think they necessarily change. They may grow, they may shift, you might admire more things, but I think it's a question of that, right? You know, which is, I don't want people to go away from that. That's making me sad.
Yes, I know. But we can see. Yeah, me too. I feel that way too. But you can see like the remnants sometimes of it where, you know, now we have so much more of a men versus women and, you know, let's start a relationship podcast, even though I have no man, and we're just going back and forth, right? We're just, okay, I said what I said.
But it's true.
You know what I'm saying? Let me become an expert on relationships because social media says I am. And then we grab this information and run with it as if this relates to my actual life. There was some amazing leaders I had to turn off. I'm like, you don't have my current season of life. So I can't listen to this and implement this into my mind over and over again because this strategy isn't for me. If you're a woman, you have a family, you need a different strategy. You need a different homework assignment because it's not working for you. You got to take the meat and give the bones to the dogs. It's not for us. We'll begin to see more of it because we are, you know, I celebrate women, Black women, women of color, right? Growing up, becoming who we said we were going to be. But let's not act as though everything that has served us well before, all of a sudden, you know, because we'll start treating our kids like that. You're keeping me from being great.
Oh no, and that's not true. That's lack. That's a lack of responsibility.
We start doing that.
I think so much of what you're saying is resonating with me personally, just in what I've had to navigate in my life. And I do want to add, I think some of this is also, and maybe I won't even say some of this is also spiritual. I would say that it is spiritual, especially when it comes to husband and wife within the framework of marriage. That's a part of God's design, right? But I've had to check myself and go, yo, and my husband's also checked me, like, hey, like we're in this thing together. And
hey, you
like, it's like we are in this thing together. But I think some of it too is, at least I only speak for myself, is the framework of understanding. I am changing. My change doesn't just affect me, it affects my entire family. So I'm not going alone, right, in this.
Yes.
We're all going together. And I think that's part of the reason why we have this podcast, is so that women know that, hey, one, you're not alone, but also you can frame your entire situation differently. And that's why we have women of diverse backgrounds, of diverse creative careers. It's so like, everyone has a different story. And to your point about social media, I think comparison also plays a part in the perspectives that we're seeing. Oh, this person has this success. And you're looking at what their life looks like. And you start feeling like the life that you have is not enough. So I think comparison also plays a part in that as well. But yeah, you talk, girl, you gotta talk that talk.
It's a pattern. We see it. Let's just do the analysis. I do a lot of challenging us to troubleshoot, right? To look at what the issues are. Is it that your husband doesn't love you? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it that y'all fell out of love? Y'all fell out of like, what happened? Are you all parenting small little micro humans who just take? Right? My kids are old enough to clean the kitchen now. They're giving back. Okay.
Thank the Lord. I'm looking forward to those years. They already started. My little ones, they still
do it for you, girl.
I'm listening, but that's not my season quite yet. But I'm looking forward to that season.
But that season of parenting small children is exhausting.
Yeah.
You are the sole provider for everything they need. Of course, y'all not having sex like you want to. You're tired. By the time the house get quiet, we just need to go to bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I got teenagers. They stay up all night. So now it's like, well, why y'all still up? Go to bed. So
we about to get busy and loud. Let me stop.
We trying. So I think it's both sides of the equation, but working your way through those seasons is challenging. Can we own that that's okay, that it's challenging and we're finding our way versus, I'm becoming someone new, therefore I've outgrown you. That could never work. You know what I mean? Or it could. We could tell ourselves that story, but let's just be honest about what it actually is. Sometimes I, went and got that life coaching certification, or I took this class, or I did this, and your husband, who is, blue collar, hardworking contractor, construction guy, who's responsible and pays those bills, and he's reliable and consistent. And all of a sudden, because he's not a multi-six-figure entrepreneur, it's a problem. So we just got to look at, do this analysis, do your own troubleshooting, mamas, and ask yourself, is this actually an issue or is it a season of life?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a good one.
This is good stuff. This is very, very good. And I think helpful for women who are in transition, because you don't want to put a period where it's just ellipsis,
exactly. Because because also, people fall into that thing and they were like, well, you weren't being grateful to your spouse. But I think they're not, as you said, they're not seeing the value in the person, right? And what they bring. Because I do believe it can work. I don't think you always have to be on have the same goals and same dream. You're not going to have the same career. And it's okay. But it also doesn't say just because it's a blue collar that he doesn't have vision. Like, he can still blue collar vision. And when you get that fat check, you get him, he can run that business, right? So you can do things to help each other, But I just, that's one of the sad things that people they don't see the value. And I think we have to stop and really, as you said, troubleshoot, see what's working for us, and also see what that person is bringing to your life to allow you to be the person you are. You have somebody who is a blue collar.
That is good.
Who's allowing you.
That part.
Who's allowing you to say, okay, he's like, all right, I'm going to be home at 4 every day. I'm going to get the kids. I'm going to make sure dinner. You have that freedom to go be the creative everywhere because you have a consistent, stable, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think people need to.
That's my life. That's literally my life. I'm able to do the different things that I do because I have a supportive spouse. You guys talked about laundry. I haven't done laundry for real in quite some time. Shout out to my spouse for taking that on. That I don't actually have to do that. But I think, the person that you've made these wonderful kids with, and of course we're talking about within that partnership, we can't just throw folks away just because we're moving. It's a team. It's a team. And that's why I think part of it is a spiritual thing, because divide and conquer is always going to be the strategy.
Yes. You take one twin, I got the other. No, good.
Well, we're talking about the enemy strategy. It's
that
to divide and conquer. But that too.
The kids coming, let me stop. Sometimes the kids try to divide us. Listen, I can't hug my husband without. I said, this is not a group hug, okay? But
this is only me hug.
Okay, but it happens. I end up just being the meat in the sandwich because what can I do? Okay.
Yes.
Let's get coaching work, right? You are seeing these challenges. You're seeing women navigate these circumstances. How are you able to help them overcome them? Are you just like telling them, hey, this is what you got to do? Is it a checklist? Are you like, I mean, you're a coach, so you're technically not kind of really giving therapeutic, services. But what have you found to be helpful in getting women from point A to point B when it comes to pursuing the things that they want to?
Well, I've seen across the board in my work, I've been honored to work with hundreds of moms, and I've seen across the board how so many of us are all similar, have similar hiccups, just like we can hop on, one of our first conversations and we all get it. We all understand, we feel those transitions. We felt those aches and quakes. We felt the postpartum depression or anxiety and all of those things. We can, sympathize with each other in that way. And so I've seen across the board that I usually like to start with just letting them have time to use their imaginations. I think that because most of the time we're in survival mode, we're just trying to make it to bedtime, right? We just want to race to going to sleep so I can wake up and hopefully I get some rest and I can just start over again. And whatever I didn't do today, I'll do tomorrow. And that whole idea. So I like to let them have permission to dream again and then to dream without censorship, because our own innate habits, our own brains automatically tell us you could have this, but, or this could be, but, and we have a whole host of buts that come behind, that whole idea. So I say, well, if no one stopped you from accomplishing this, or if there was no way that you were going to fail, or, we just, a year from today, if you could just have the wildest things you could come up with, what would that look like, And to begin to write those things down for them, because most of the time they've never created space. I put emphasis on created the space to think about it and to focus in on it, to write it down without stopping themselves, to even journal without, saying, don't write that, write something different that's more palatable for you or for the people who will find it one day, for 50 years from now. You don't even write all the stuff down because you're afraid your kids will find it and you'll find out that they annoyed you, So we don't do that.
That goes in the digital journal.
In the digital journal that you hope to just vanish.
No, they need to know that this motherhood life has its challenges and challenges. And they need to know. And honestly, I'm like, find it. You gonna know.
Yes.
Yes, I was stressed out and I wanted to
love you though.
But I still love you. But I felt overwhelmed, or or this is how I managed my time. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. And so I found that once we're allowed to imagine that and see ourselves a year from now or 5 years from now, we can begin to create a strategic plan that fits that. In addition, I whenever we get about 6 weeks into the coaching, right? Usually I coach for 6 months to a year. Okay. So when I see, about 6 weeks in, 3 months in, there's a book called The 12-Week Year, which a lot of it's a well-known book on time management and setting goals. But I really only pull one specific page out of there because it talks about the emotional cycle of change, the roller coaster ride that you go on whenever you choose to change a behavior. And so it looks like this, and it starts at the top like a roller coaster, swoops down into the valley, and then comes up on the other side. And it shows how we start really excited. And then at phase 2, we feel kind of, I didn't know this was going to be so hard. Phase 3 is, let me just throw all of this away because it's way too hard to do. And then phase 4 and 5 are you learning what it takes. And you working on managing yourself and the things that need to happen so you can accomplish it. And then coming up to success and fulfillment, the reaching of the goal. Okay. And so I found that 6 weeks in, 3 months in, halfway through the coaching is when we slip down into that I'm frustrated. I just want to go back to the way things were. And I think that's where it's important that you have that added support to say, I've told my clients, watch out for this moment when it is easier for you to go back to what you were doing before. Let me just throw this idea away. I'm going to go back to being a stay-at-home mom of two, no goals, no dreams, because it feels too hard to organize that.
Understood.
Once you start to transition, it starts to feel challenging. I'm becoming someone new. My husband is like, hey, sis, where you at? And the kids are like, mommy, you said you were gonna, but you didn't because you were working on your stuff. And all of these things, it feels easier to just go back to Egypt, right? It feels easier to go backwards. You have to have this level of support. I can tell my client, watch out for the moment when your schedule is as busy as your husband's. Watch out for the moment when you said you were going to do stuff and your time wasn't there. Watch out for the moment when your marriage starts to feel a little constrained because your energy levels and your time wasn't what it used to be. When you get to that point, bring it to your session and we're going to talk through what that looks like. All of this is necessary to go through so you can become a superstar. It's just what it is. But we want to be a superstar with our families intact. I don't want to lose this important stuff, this relationship, this laughter, this love in pursuit of the limelight or in pursuit of making my vision or idea a big deal. And so we have to go through that process.
It's so funny. It's so right. When you start something, you feel like, okay, this is going to be too hard. And, I have to thank Kelli for that. She, and I've said it on here before, but I really appreciate who she has been and her choice to take her kids along with her, right? Because for a long time, I was modeling for a long time. I had children say, okay, well, this is going to just have to stay on the back, right? And I went to a casting thing and I did, I was a background person. And I was like, okay, that was fine. That was fun. Maybe that was it. Maybe that's all I needed to do, fulfill that dream. And I was like, checklist, but I still wanted to. But I was like, you know what? My daughter was my priority at the time, right? I was like, I'm going to make it that. But seeing her making that step, I was like, she's doing it. And I thought to myself, I remember actually God was like dropping my spirit. You can do hard things. Cause I was really evading hard things because I was just having everything was just hard. Everything just felt hard. Like anything that asked me to give more of myself I felt like I was giving a lot already. And, I wasn't self-care. It wasn't anything. Nothing was about me. Okay. But also I do feel like that's also a season. And I came out of it. And then I also I said, okay, you know what? I'm getting a little too comfortable here. The season has changed, but I was like, nah, I'm good. I like this little safe, snuggly spot. But I definitely had to make the decision. Okay, you can do it. You can do hard things. And you know what? Sometimes it's not as hard as me think. It's not as hard. Once you start going through it, you're like, you know what? I can do it. Like you realize I did have the time, I did have the space, and I could make it happen. So definitely.
I love that.
Definitely relate with that. I'm glad I held on and pushed through. And it does help to have somebody to egg you on to say, yes, you can do this, because she was there for that. And also and my spouse, but also to see somebody else come through on the other side, right? To say, okay, they did it. So I'm almost there. I can do it.
Yeah. And I'll throw in here too, because I think this will be helpful for the moms watching, is that whenever you have a goal, you go on the emotional cycle of change, the roller coaster ride. And I have seen there are men, right, who are not Black or brown, who wrote the book. Okay. So now when we add on being women,
right,
Black and brown women, right? We add on the roles as wives or partners and mothers and all of these things to the goals. I realize that with every goal you have, you go on a roller coaster ride for each goal. Okay, so you want to be more creative. You want to take your juice to the next level. Roller coaster ride. Want to drop 20 pounds? Roller coaster ride. Want to, be the hot Megan Thee Stallion wife? Roller coaster ride, because you got to change. Want to be a more nurturing mom and not yell and you scavengers just going off on them. That's a roller coaster ride to change those behaviors. Right. For every goal you have, for every ambition that you have where you have to change behavior, you will go on the emotional cycle of change for each one. Wow. And so now you wonder why life feels overwhelming and you want to throw everything away and just, forget it. I'll try again next year. Is because you have so many goals, so many multi-layered parts of your existence that now you have all these roller coaster rides emotionally happening all at one time.
I think
that's that's the most fun though for me. It's like, oh, all these things going on. Let's do it. Let's make it work.
But I like that, you know what? I like that we have a term for what we're feeling, this emotional cycle of change, because it's a real thing. I promise you, when I started school this year. I said, oh, I'm doing fine. Month 1, I was like, I'm doing fine. I said, when am I going to have the breakdown? I kept looking for it. I was like, I already got all this stuff. I'm already momming. I'm already like, girl, you didn't have time. I didn't have time for school last year. So how am I have time for school this year? And I didn't really, and I think me looking for it, but acknowledging that, okay, I can take breaks. I don't have to have the breakdown. But it is an emotional cycle of change. And I like that I know what it is now so that I can, better serve myself and my needs.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's get into some fun stuff.
Let's
get into some fun
Let's go.
Brag on yourself, sis. This is your moment. What are you most proud of, either in your motherhood or your creative work or your life?
Yeah.
Okay. I am most proud of having worked with Essence Magazine 6 times in the last 18 months. At one time, I just wanted to do it once. Like just to be able to put it on your website somewhere. It's the holy grail of Black womanhood.
Oh, yes.
I just wanted it one time. But in my mind, the goal was for me to, like, when you guys start to talk about motherhood and all that stuff, I want you to call me. And so I had the opportunity to do in print, online, to even host the lifestyle editor at our event last year. And so that has been the joy of my creative journey thus far.
Oh, I love it. I love that. That's like everybody wanting to be like the jet beauty of the week kind of thing. Like, you look at those things you aspire to because, they grew up with us, right? Essence, it's just, you said Black womanhood. I love that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, if you could have a superpower to help you juggle motherhood and your work, what would it be and how would you use it?
I think I'll be able to like move things with my mind.
Like what things? Go ahead, give us an example.
Oh my goodness. Everything that's on the floor. Right. I have a thing about stuff being on the floor. So if I could just like, I don't know, bewitch, like wiggle my nose or just, pick it up and just, that would really be magical.
I feel that way about LA traffic. I just want to be able to move all of the cars
too. Yeah.
out of the way.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Okay, so what's a funny moment that you've experienced while navigating this hectic life that you live?
Funny, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting. And it's not necessarily funny per se, but it goes back to the idea of being ready so you don't have to get ready. Right. I went into the grocery store. I just finished my workout, hair probably half twisted, beanie on, my husband's shorts, probably his hoodie too. I look like an entire hobo. And of course, this was the day that somebody recognized me from the internet and walked up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, aren't you the Momathon coach from Facebook?"
Didn't you just whip the hoodie back and say, "Yes, I am"?
I did say, "Hey girl," but like if I run into a follower on the street, usually I'll like, take a selfie or something like, "Hey girl."
Yeah.
That day I just wanted to go crawl into a hole. And I was like, okay, if all of you all who are working on becoming a big deal, just be ready. Like at least try to put on some hoop earrings and a lippy. Okay.
Note to self.
You just never know.
Oh my God, that's all right. Listen, you're a person too. I'm sure you help that person because sometimes people are struggling with image and they swear everybody woke up like this, fresh face, beat face. But sometimes you work out and you run to the store and that's okay.
Yes. And sometimes you looked a mess and you should have done better before you left the house.
True.
That was me.
True.
That was true. Me. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, girl, you don't want to run into nobody
Right.
Period. Especially not somebody that follow the internet or respect your work. And on the internet, you're fabulous. And then you look like you could be better. Like you could have done better.
I like that part. You could do better.
I like done better.
If you can do better in the moment, do better. If you can't, that's all right. But we're going to give grace for that. But not grace for being for not doing what you should have done.
Yes. Same amount of energy to put on.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Same amount of energy you put on your husband's old shorts with the paint on it versus like your cute jogging pants. It's the same energy to put the pants on. Just pick the slightly nicer pants.
I feel you on that. I've been personally slacking. If my mom would see me like the clothes that I just run out in the morning and drop these kids, she'd be like, "What are you doing?"
It's happening.
So yeah, I'm gonna take that for myself and go get cute like you used to. I used to get cute and pick up these kids. Let me go out there looking cute in my little sundress
so
and like,
so they can tell their friends that's my mama because
that's right.
Kids do talk. Okay,
covering their face.
Can you share a few words of affirmation for a creative mom?
It's working. Look for how.
Oh, girl. Listen. I'm about to cry. That's a word.
It's working for you.
Look
right now. For the evidence. Look for the evidence
say
that
one
it's
more
working.
Time. Say that whole thing one more time.
It's working. Look for how. You have to believe that it's working before you see the evidence of it. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't get to know what the fruit is instantly. You don't know what that thing is going to be. You just got to be okay with being resilient enough to show up and do it again. And every year, you look for, how can I do this better? I'm planning my event, right? We talked about it last year. And I'm like, okay, I woke up and I'm like, okay, how do I do it again this year, but better? How do I do it easier? I already know it's working. Let me look for how it's working. And then let me adjust my expectations of myself, and let me start early, and all these things that I need to do to adjust to guarantee my own success. I can't look to anybody else to guarantee that. I am the guarantor of my success, right? You look at God, God gives you the vision. Yeah. But when the vision comes to life, Kelly, you know this, when they send an invoice, they do not put Jesus' name on it. No. Your name.
Yeah.
On the invoice. So it's working, look for how it's working, and then strategically do the work to guarantee the success, guarantee the win.
Okay.
Listen, I almost took off running when you said it the first time. Lord. Come on.
That is a word. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
It is a word. It touched it. It is a word. It's a word that we need to be reminded, because sometimes that self-doubt is there. Mm-hmm. The imposter syndrome is there. Mm-hmm. And we're not doing that in 2024.
No, we just can't do that.
We ain't doing that.
No. Now that we know what it is. And listen, we got the name for it. We know what it's called, imposter syndrome. And now we're going to learn how to get past it and never see it again. Okay?
All right. We gotta do the work. I'm going to be listening back to that. When we cut that clip, it's going to be the first one that goes up.
Listen,
because we need to be reminded of that. But
a good one.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, let people know how they can connect with you
on social
media, website, Instagram, all of that stuff. Let the people know.
Yes. I am all over the internet. Okay, so you can look me up, Christina Garrett. I will totally have this like tapered frohawk. Okay, and all the pictures. So you found me. Okay, so you can find me, Christina Garrett, online. I'm on LinkedIn, and then also, let me see, Instagram and Facebook at the Momathon Diaries. So the Momathon conference is like Sunday church mixed with an HBCU homecoming. It is all the most dynamic. I know it's such good energy. Amazing women leaders who are called to put out amazingness into the world, and they know they're called for great things, but they also have to organize their lives so that they can achieve it. And so the goal is to talk about priority management, time management, health and wellness, growing your business, and laughter and networking and music and dancing and all of that all in one weekend. It will change your life. They can find me online for all the details.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Very good. Oh my gosh. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us on the ProCreatives Podcast and just bringing that enlightenment and that encouragement. Yes. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Christina, again, for being here.
And I'm going to go ahead and follow you on Instagram and stalk you a bit, okay?
Yes, come on, girl. It's so much fun. Thank you all for having me.
You're welcome, sis. So I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for listening in to our conversation with Christina. Catch us weekly on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, and feel free to leave a review.
Yes, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook to get more information and inspiration on motherhood and making things.
And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. Have a question or a comment, send us an email at the ProCreatives Podcast at gmail.com. Keep creating, mama.
Bye.